Hey everybody, it's Jason Creel and this is the Lawn Care Life. I have over the course of the past 2 weeks been working on redoing my entire yard, and I've learned a lot, and I want to try to kind of summarize everything I've learned in this video from starting a yard completely over. So I'll tell you what we did. I'm going to talk to you about the options and the pros and cons of whether you want to seed your yard, sprig your yard, plug your yard, sod your yard, whatever. Okay, there's advantages and disadvantages to each of those. I've learned a lot. I've gotten a lot of great advice from the people on the YouTube channel, which has been great. And but we've sort of done what we're going to do for at least for the time being. So I want to show you what we did and tell you why I did it and talk to you about the other things. Let's get to it. Okay, so I know you look at this and it doesn't look like much. I need to probably dig through and find you a before picture. This was a house we bought. If you're new to the channel, bought this house back about 9 or 10 months ago. All right, it was a relatively flat lot, but it was very wooded. If you see the trees on the far side of the screen, that's what it looked like, basically past that, where that power pole is right there. It was all wooded and brush and very thick, and we cleared off a lot of land, you know, not just that part, but we got land back in the back here that we cleared off. So we probably cleared I'm gonna say 3 acres of land that was basically unusable. So it had a giant track over, but this yard was just tons of weeds, and it just wasn't level as I wanted it. So here's the process of what we did. We got a skid steer and came in here and scraped it level. I found a guy that was good at operating the skid steer, and he was able to level it. Now, at that point, if I was gonna lay sod, I could have just sodded it right then. You know, I think that was fine. It was level. I could have threw the sod down. The problem is I'm trying to cover about 3 acres in grass, and so I mean, I've estimated I'd probably need somewhere around 300 pounds of sod, which is just not doable, at least for me. So I started looking into other options. And just for context, I'm in Alabama. We have warm season grasses, and so my choices are bermuda, centipede, zoysia. That's pretty much my choices here. So what I decided to do was I wanted the 419 bermuda. The reason being, if you get it going, bermuda grass in general will spread very fast. So I thought, if I can get the bermuda going, it'll really spread. Now, zoysia would be my choice. If somebody just gave me 300 pallets of sod and wanted to come lay it for me, you know, I would have loved to have the zoysia, but it's very slow to spread, and the bermuda will spread real quick. So when I decided on bermuda, you can go with, you know, common bermuda or some of these improved varieties that you can get from seed. But the problem with that is a couple problems. One, it's just, in my opinion, and not just my opinion, but there's some research out there, the website that I was told about, it's ntep.org. It's the National Turf Grass Evaluation Program, I think, and they do studies on all different kind of turf grasses. You can go check that out. But when they started talking about Bermuda grass, they give it scores and ratings based on a number of factors, and the 419 does very well compared, you know, better than the seeded varieties. So that's what I decided to go with. Well, you can't get it from seed. It has to be sprigged or plugged or bought as sod. So when I decided, you know, I wanted to do that, that's kind of ruled out seeding. The other problem with seeding was water is an issue. Okay, hopefully it's going to rain today. But when it came time to just thinking on the seed, I thought I'm going to have to keep that ground moist, you know, for at least a week. And it's just a large area. I don't have irrigation. I thought, and we're working on water, and you know, but we'll talk about that here in a minute, but I just thought the plugs had a better chance of survival. So I ended up going with the plugs. So what I decided to do, somebody told me, he said, hey, buy your Bermuda sod, get a chipper shredder and feed the sod through the chipper shredder, and it will chop it up into plugs for you, and then just put it out. So I bought the chipper shredder, put a piece of sod in there, and it just mulched it into nothing. I mean, it was just a little bit of dirt and some, anyway, it just wasn't much left. So I thought, well, I don't think that's gonna work. So I found a sod farmer about an hour drive away, and what he did, he has equipment to be able to cut it into plugs for you. So I said, okay. So I'm thinking, I've got about 3 acres I need to cover. How much sod do I need? Well, it really depends on how much you want to wait. You want to wait. I mean, it'll spread if it starts growing. So, but anyway, I told him let's do 5 pallets, which is, you know, probably not enough to get a really good coverage, but enough for me to get it going. And I'm doing this in early August, so it's going to be next year before it covers anyway. So I do 5 pallets. Well, so I line up a dump truck to go pick it up, and everything's lined up to go get it. And what happens is the dump truck gets there, and the sod farmer calls me, and the dump truck is too tall for him to load it into. So that was a problem. So what we had to do was borrow some pickup trucks, and we took pickup trucks down there and got the sod, or got basically 4 of the 5 pallets probably. And we came back, and with all this sod, let me show you what we got. It's basically plugs. So if you look at it, you know, it still has some dirt on the roots, where a sprig is just, you know, see, this has dirt on it, you know. So sprigs would just be like that. I'm assuming is what sprigs is, which could work too, but you got to get those in the ground. They got equipment to get in the ground. This needs to be gotten in the ground too. So that's why after we scraped it, where I said if we were just laying sod, we just threw it down on the scraped dirt. But this, we came through and used a tractor, and we tilled up the ground and loosened up the soil so that it would have a better chance of being able to, you know, be put down in the soil. And then I went and rented a roller, because I thought, well, we'll do a throw it out and then I'll roll it, and that'll kind of put it in the ground, you know, sort of plant it. And then obviously water being the key factor. Well, it's super hot out here, so I've got to get water. My father-in-law is working like madman trying to get my well going. And I don't know anything about wells, but we actually have a well on the property, and we've got it almost working. So should be here shortly, have well water that I can just run all night if I want to. So let's talk briefly about your options. Obviously sod is great. You got an instant yard. You just got to get it watered. It's got a high chance of survival as long as you water it. But most expensive option, and you know, if you're going to pay somebody or do it yourself, it's still expensive, very time consuming. Very expensive to sod the large area I'm talking about. Seed would have been fine. It just wasn't going to be the grass type I wanted, and you'd have to really have some good irrigation, I believe, to be able to keep it watered for the amount of time that I needed to before it started growing. You can do the sprigs, but they'll dry out super quick because they have very little soil attached to them. They need to be put in the ground and kept watered almost immediately. So I just thought the plugs was the way to go. I don't regret it. I learned a lot in doing this. There's some things I would have probably done different. I learned it goes a long way. I mean, 4 pallets was, I feel like, sufficient to cover 3 acres. Now, not if you're looking to have it filled in. Like if you do this in May, and you know, and you put, let's say, 2 pallets per acre or 3 pallets per acre, I mean, you get full coverage pretty quickly once it started growing. Well, me, I understand that. I'm just trying to get it going right now, and you know, if I can keep it alive over the next week or two, then it'll survive through the winter. I feel confident of that, and then next year it'll fill in. Now, here's one thing, and you guys give me some advice on this. I've been told more than one time not to overseed your Bermuda with ryegrass. Now, people do that all the time, okay? And I think what people are saying on a young lawn, not to do it. And but the problem is, on this particular yard, it holds a lot of water in the wintertime. Now, we worked on that as well while we were doing projects, but if I don't put some ryegrass out here, I'm gonna have so much bare dirt, it's gonna be an absolute mud pit. So I mean, I'm not worried about delayed green up. I'm not worried about anything like that. I just don't want it to kill the Bermuda. But in my mind, I'm like, how is some ryegrass gonna kill the Bermuda? I don't care if it hurts it or whatever. I just don't want it dead. So anyway, I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. But basically what I'm doing now, once we get the soil wet, the grass is here, and I can either just, you know, like I said, I use the roller. I'll probably drive over this with a lawnmower and put them in the ground that way. And even if it leaves some unlevel spots, the yard's way more level than it was. And as the sod takes root, I'm still gonna have time where I'm gonna have a lot of loose dirt. And once the sod is stuck in the ground, then I can come back and drag it and kind of level everything out even more so. So I'm not worried about that. I feel good about it. And you know, you can see the way that the plugs are. I mean, I've got plugs maybe every, you know, 12 inches or so, and and some of them, they'll probably die. They have some less dirt than others. Some we're not going to water as good as others. You know, we're going to be watering a lot. I'm watering with hopefully the well, watering off the house. I put my spray tank, I put water in my spray tank. I'm walking around watering like that. So, and then of course rain would be by far the best. Now, also had some common Bermuda in the yard, had some centipede in the yard. I sprayed the yard twice before we scraped it. I don't pretend that I've got all that dead. You know, the truth is it's hard to kill Bermuda grass even when you're trying to kill it once it's established. So I'll probably not have a pure 419 Bermuda yard. I'll probably still have some common Bermuda. I'll probably still have a little bit of other stuff, but I think it's going to be close. And you know, I'm looking forward to growing this in next year. And the whole plan was to show a lot of this on video. But you know what, it's just been a really busy week and I've been trying to help with some of it. And when you stand around holding the camera while other people are working, you get some ugly looks. So I've had tons of help from my family. My parents helped me with the sod. Basically, we had these plugs in the back of the truck and we just started throwing them all different directions. I even have my kids back there. We're just chunking sod plugs, and wherever it lands is where it lands. You can see here, this is a place that held a lot of water. While we had all this equipment, we put this box in, drain box, and ran a pipe over to a ditch over here. So that's going to solve hopefully the water problem with the water settling right there. I want to show you the back real quick because some of you have been following along. Again, I got to get this watered today as soon as possible. We put the sod out yesterday afternoon and a little bit more this morning, and I am tired of putting out sod, tired of messing with this, and ready to move on. So I will show you this. I want to show you a couple more things in wrapping up the video. I'm gonna, as you get more shade over here, this is what I bought to feed through that machine, the chipper shredder, to see how it worked, but it just chopped it up. So I just left this little piece of zoysia. I've been watering it. I thought I'll stick it over here. So I'm gonna try to get some zoysia going in the shadier areas. And of course the Bermuda will do well in full sun. So let me show you what the back looks like. It's not as level as we want. Like I said, once the Bermuda gets rooted, I can continue working on like dragging it and making it level. But I can't tell you how much better it looks than it did a month ago. When you start pulling all these big trees up out of the ground, it leaves the ground fairly rough. So all that's been plugged as well. Again, we just walked through here throwing it out. I've got to water it and then run over it with something to help it stick in the ground. I mean, honestly, if I could just keep it watered every day, I don't even think I'd have to stick it in the ground. I think it would take root on its own, but it would give it better survival rate with me being able to press it in the ground with something, which, like I said, may be me running over it with my lawnmower. I can see some cloud cover coming and the wind's picking up, a little breeze. I could looking excited about the possibility of a thunderstorm this afternoon, which would be awesome. So let me show you what's going to continue to happen, hopefully. And I had some people in the comments, I'd never heard of this, but some people in the comments were telling me about it, so I bought one. It's called, I had just opened up out of the box this morning, it's called a Pro Plugger. See this thing? It's like a, let me set it down where we can look at it. But Pro Plugger, you just step on it and it'll take a plug of sod. You know, so if I've got it right here, I'm just gonna step on it with both feet. Now it's hard to do because I'm not that coordinated right now while holding something, but if I was able to, you know, step on it, and then it will cut a plug of sod and it loads it up into the bottom of here, and then you end up with all these plugs of sod that you can later transplant. So what I'm gonna do, and this thing got great reviews and people recommend it, so once this starts growing next spring, or you know, next summer, I can start stealing plugs from the better spots and transplanting it into the more bare spots. And I'll show you this, what I also found, you know, on this hillside. Is my arch enemy, I hate this hill, but I did notice at the top of the hill up here, I've got some zoysia sod growing right along the side of the road. That's zoysia up there. So I'm gonna probably steal some plugs from that and start plugging, like I said, in the areas that don't get full sun, more partial sun. So anyway, got a big yard here, and got grass on it. I went with the plugging route. And there's nothing wrong with seeding, sodding, sprigging. They all can work. Water is obviously key. For me, it came down to the price, and I'm willing to wait. I didn't have to have it done next week, and so I just want to do this, watch it grow, and I know it'll work if I can get the water to it, get it to survive. It'll spread like crazy next year. So thanks for watching the video. Let me hear your thoughts on sprigging, sodding, plugging, seeding. And I've got to go help get this well up and running so we can get some water on this grass. Hey, leave your comments below. If you haven't done so, subscribe to the channel. I put a link to the Pro Plugger in the description if you want to check that thing out. It's like 40 bucks on Amazon. Talk to you guys later. Bye.